I thought I would talk today about some of the pitfalls of running a limited company, despite the fact that there are huge benefits to running your business through a limited company, including the limited liability protection and possibly some additional tax incentives. There are some pitfalls that, as a director and a business owner, that you need to be aware of, and I'm drawing the content from some recent experiences that we've had. So we came across a company who were late in filing their accounts for various reasons, and a few other things that came into play for the limited company. And this is an example of when it does go wrong, it can go badly wrong, but also to highlight the fact that if you're not looking after your company and keeping your books and records up to date and keeping all your filings up to date and having somebody professional to maybe look after all of that type of stuff on a regular basis so that you don't have to worry about it. That if you're not doing that, then this is the type of thing that can happen. I'll give you a couple of examples actually. So the first one was a company where the issue was that the accounts weren't prepared in time. They weren't prepared on time because the bank statements weren't available. The bank statements weren't available because they were being posted to the registered office address of the company. The registered office address of the company was a legal firm that the company would have used for legal services, but ceased using those services at some point in time. So a breakdown in communication and a lack of communication in both directions means that bank statements were being delivered to this address, they weren't being notified or forwarded on, and no one was actually making any attempt to contact that registered office or to collect any posts from there. As a result, bank statements were missing for quite a long time, and this was the reason why the accounts were then prepared late and filed late at Companies House. Now, if you're using cloud technology with Xero and so on, it's quite easy to set up a bank feed and that eradicates that problem. But it just goes to show there's quite a lot of businesses who aren't even at that stage yet, where they're setting up a bank feed straight into their cloud technology to eradicate the need for bank statements. Now, yes, you've got to renew your bank feed every 90 days as a minimum due to security measures, but surely that's better than actually wondering where your bank statements are or having to gather up paper statements and scan them or leave them to your accountants. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm talking 10 years ago from the world that we're currently in, but it still is happening out there. And when it does happen in the way that I've just described, there was a couple of other things that were happening. Number one, Companies House were sending letters out. HMRC were sending letters out to a registered office, which was effectively no longer in use. And in actual fact, when the client came to us to get the thing finally sorted, which we did fairly quickly, the company had been dissolved by Companies House. Now, just to show you how important it is to keep your company affairs up to date, the client is now in a position where they have to pay £750 of late filing fees, which we just see as unnecessary. It should never happen. They have to pay a restoration fee. So they file a form, RTO1, and file that to get the company restored, which they need to do because there are certain matters that have to be concluded in relation to the company. And finally, they also had to pay £64 to the Crown Solicitor's Office to have a bona vacantia letter accepted, because essentially what happened was this company had some equipment. When the company was officially dissolved by Companies House, that property and those assets legally now belong to the Crown, and they have to pay this fee in order for the Crown to release ownership of those assets so that the company can be restored. So as you can see, there's probably, when you take on our costs and so on into effect, there's over £1,000 of costs simply arising because a company affairs weren't up to date, and because there was probably a little bit of a lack of ownership on behalf of the directors to just not do things a little bit better there. We've dealt with that one. We've dealt with another case where there was an issue with a registered office, but we resolved it very quickly and there's no fines and no penalties and nothing's late and so on. But you just need to keep on top of your affairs is what I'm saying. Or just get a professional firm like ourselves to look after all of that type of stuff. Setting up a limited company is so easy to do. It's very cheap and cheerful nowadays. But I don't think what most people realise by doing that is that they have a set of responsibilities. I even spoke to someone today, set up a company in January and wants to get rid of it. Didn't even realise they had accounts to do or a confirmation statement or none of that stuff. Thankfully, all they have to do now is file a strike-off application with a £10 fee and they can just let the thing go. But this is why you should appoint a professional and work with a professional, because when you appoint a firm like ourselves, We put these things on our workflow management system so that they are not missed. And then things can flow a lot smoother. You can sleep easy at night. You'll know it's dealt with. Hopefully that's been useful. I know it sounds a little bit scary, but then again, we're not too far off Halloween. So just take into consideration that if you're running a limited company comes with a fair bit of responsibility, and get a professional to look after it for you.